and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to one of our weekly live stream Q&A sessions where we are starting off the week with one of these. It's Monday evening and I've decided to go live tonight because I was a bit knackered actually. I must admit I wasn't really in the video editing mood this morning when I woke up. I got back from Newcastle quite late last night, about 2 in the morning, and the drive had absolutely annihilated me. I was down there at commentate ICW in the Northumbria Students' Union, a fantastic show. Me and Billy had the time of our lives in commentary. But it's back to the main focus today, back to the main channel, back to Celtic Football Club. That's the priority, and summer is officially underway. This is it. No games for a long time. We've got a while until the Premiership season kicks back in, August to be precise. So bear with me for the entirety of June and July. I'll be here as much as I possibly can be whenever there is something to talk about, whenever there's a transfer rumour to go through, whenever there's anything that crops up which is worth some discussion. You know exactly where to come and watch and get your news. It's right here, Ryan118. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. It is absolutely boiling in this loft. It is so warm. I'm playing 5-a-sides in an hour's time, and I'll be lucky if I make it, because I feel like as I sit here talking to you right now, I am melting into a puddle. Drip by drip. You can't see it up here yet, the sweat hasn't reached, but I'm telling you, from the neck down, I'm sweating. Absolutely sweating. So we're going to try and get through this half hour relatively pain-free. I would turn the fan on and give myself some respite, but you'll hear it and it will just be minging. Anyway, it's nice to see you all piling in. Good evening, everybody. I can see some of the regulars. Ewan, Mackenzie, Patrick. Nice to see you all tuning in. We're going to talk about a few things and then get into the Q&A session. So you can ask questions or whatever you like, because now there isn't any football to talk about. We've celebrated our double this season. Celtic, of course, winning the Scottish Premiership and the Scottish Cup. No football to talk about, just the transfer stories in between for the moment. There's a few things that have cropped up today, and Jake, absolutely. Anyway, shall we start with the news surrounding Paulo Bernardo, because obviously we're waiting to find out if Paulo Bernardo will become a permanent Celtic player, whether or not Celtic will try and sign him on a permanent contract following his loan season with us through the 2023-24 campaign. Now, obviously, when he signed, it was noted that Celtic did have an option to buy Paulo Bernardo at a fee that would come around about $6.5 million. But Celtic, apparently, as we speak, in negotiation, and if you've been following Paulo Bernardo, you'll know and you'll have seen that he is doing his best to try and materialise this move, and the reports suggest that he's very happy in Glasgow, wants to stay here, he's settled, and is dying for the move back. Shall we just pull up some supporting documents to start us off tonight? This was a tweet that Anthony Joseph put up this morning at 10:35 AM, saying that Celtic are indeed in talks with Benfica over a deal for Bernardo through this summer transfer window. The option to buy in his loan deal now apparently confirmed by Anthony Joseph, as I've said, throughout the entirety of the campaign that's just passed. When people have asked, what's Bernardo going to do next year? Will he be here? Will we sign him? And people have asked, what's the fee? There's been conflicting reports, but Anthony Joseph seeming to confirm what looked to be the definite number of £6.5 million, because it was a €7.5 million fee. £6.5 million, but there's talks ongoing over potentially lowering the fee. So Celtic are doing what I said they should have done in a video a couple of weeks ago. I remember saying that, listen, if we need to pay the £6.5 million, I would pay it personally. I really like him, and for being 10% of the money that we make alone off of qualifying for the Champions League, I think it's worth it. But they should do their due diligence here and try their best to go out and find a lower fee. They should go out and try and negotiate where there is room to negotiate. Don't rip the Mickey here. Don't take the Mickey and try and rip them off. And just kind of throw negotiations in the bin, but certainly go out and do business. And the whole point in business is trying to, get bang for your buck. So Celtic apparently ongoing with Benfica in conversation to try and lower the fee from £6.5 million, which I think is fantastic news. I really do reckon that we will see Paulo Bernardo become a Celtic player permanently this summer. I just think that it looks very likely. I think that Brendan Rodgers is probably keen to have him as well, and it's something that I think that we should be looking to get done. It was reported in the record as well. Of course, Paulo Bernardo. Hold on, I'm getting some more supporting document up. Paulo Bernardo of course, is what was I was going to? I forgot what was my point. I was too busy looking at comments, and I forgot what I was going to say. Live mishap. Yes, of course, that was what I was going to say. Paulo Bernardo has been told that he's not going to be in Benfica's first team plans next season. There's no way he's going to be playing for the senior side next year, either in the Portuguese Premier Liga or European football, and that was picked up in the record as well. They basically spoke about the news that Anthony Joseph reported in this same article, which also linked us with another centre midfielder being Alvin Sanchez. We'll get on to Alvin in a moment, keep his name in mind, but Celtic are looking to try and bring down the fee that is required to sign Paulo Bernardo on a permanent basis. I think we'll sign him. So I'll get a couple of opinions up. Caden saying 3 million max for Bernardo, add a sell-on cause to convince Benfica. I personally don't think 6.5 is even bad. I don't think that we should cap it and say 3 million max. Paulo Bernardo is a good player. He's proven he's a good player. Good players are hard to come by, and sometimes you've got to pay a little bit of money, especially in the economic state that football finds itself in now, where it's becoming increasingly harder to find talented players at low fees. £6.5 million is just over 10% of the £60 million windfall Celtic get for qualifying for this season's Champions League. That still leaves 90% of those winnings, and we're not going to spend that 60 million. I understand that, so you might have to look at it and saying, well, 6 million, if we say got a 30 million transfer budget, that's a significantly higher percentage that we're using up on Paulo Bernardo. But I think Paulo Bernardo's happy with his state in the squad right now. I think he's happy with the position that he has. And that's good for Celtic, because if he's content and he wants to come back here, it doesn't raise any eyebrows about squad importance or pecking orders. If he wants to come back and contribute to the manner that he did over the last campaign, I think that's incredibly useful for Celtic. He has got quality. Guaranteed quality that he brings off the bench. And I don't think Celtic will find many better players than Paulo Bernardo, who are probably happy to spend some time sitting on the bench. If Paulo Bernardo is very keen to come to Celtic, it's surely on the understanding that his squad role is going to be similar to what he experienced as a lone player. There surely can't be a guarantee that he comes in to be a starter for Celtic. So I think this is a situation that works out pretty well for both parties, works out for Paulo Bernardo and Celtic. Yes, negotiate it, try and get it down. I think the ideal fee would be something, £4 million, £4.5 million. I think that would be slightly more realistic than 3 million. Because Benfica will know Celtic want him. They have leverage there. They're not going to play dumb. If they know that Celtic and Brendan Rodgers want the player, then they're not going to turn around and say, I just take him then for £2-3 million. That's not going to happen. That's not how business works. They will be realistic about things. They will try and get as close to that 6.5 million as they possibly can. I wouldn't be surprised if they only knocked £1 million off it, if it was, £5.5 million. But I do think that he'll potentially become a Celtic player this summer on a permanent basis. I think it would be smart business from the club, and I look forward to potentially seeing him join. So that's the Paulo Bernardo update as it stands. As more emerges, we will report on it. A very big shout out to my good friend Wojtek from the Czech Republic. It's nice to see you as always. Thank you for the donation. It is much appreciated, Wojtek, saying, again, greetings from the Czech Republic. Celtic won the double, Sparta Prague won the double, and on top of that, the Czech ice hockey players won the World Championship at home ice in Prague. What a sports year. Thanks for your... I never knew that. Congratulations to the Czech Republic. I don't keep up with ice hockey, I must admit. I watch the NHL on occasion. I have a Chicago Blackhawks hat. But congratulations to the Czech Republic. I hope you're enjoying the victory, Wojtek. Congrats to Sparta as well. And thank you for the donation. Also, thank you to Ian, who has donated a £5. What a man. It's good seeing you again, Ian. I've missed you. Saying, hi, Ryan. Have to drive to Edinburgh at the weekend. Could you send me a map of the West Coast, please, mate? Sorry, mate. Could not resist. I wanted to, so can I see before we move on, right? Let's get a point out of the way, because I need to address this, because I can't believe I've done this. So on the Select the Fund, if you watched the most recent edition of the Select the Funder, and this is what Ian is alluding to here, thank you for the donation, by the way, Ian, but I want to clarify for my own good here and for my own sanity. So we have a quizmaster, Kieran, our quizmaster, not Kieran Auld from the podcast, another Kieran. He's our quizmaster, and every week he'll send me quizzes. Kieran lives in Qatar. He moved there to become a teacher, and it's very tiring living in Qatar with the weather at this time of year. So he was napping when I asked him, have you got quizzes for me this week? So he woke up from his nap, half asleep, laid out the quiz, put it down on paper. And I'm not wanting to just shift blame on Kieran here, because I should have realised this as I was speaking. Somebody who has a higher geography and prides themselves on their geographic knowledge, I should really fucking know this. Anyway, Kieran said, what he put in the question, which West Coast side, blah, 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 and the answer was Edinburgh City. And none of us, not one of us clocked onto it. Not one. We just kind of rolled with it, and I feel sorry. I think the question was posed to Ryan McGinley, and he couldn't, or Callum Craig, and he didn't get it because he couldn't think of a West Coast side. And we just went on as if it was right. Of course, Edinburgh City from the East Coast. So I apologise to anybody who was muddled up by my poor officiating in the quiz. I'm not going to blame Kieran Smythe because of his nap. I'm going to take the full responsibility. I should have noticed the mistake in the quiz, and I should have been smarter than to call Edinburgh City a West Coast side. So Ian, you maybe don't want my map, but thank you for the donation. So let's get a few opinions about Paulo Bernardo before we move on to the next couple of stories, because I do want to get into the Q&A. We've got Typhoon saying that pay the $6.5 million and get the lad in. He's going to be worth 3 times that in a few years. Once again, yeah, you got to think about the potential of selling on the player in a couple of years' time. Will Celtic make profit? Any profit is good profit. Even if he was to come in, play football, and we want to sell him for £8-9 million, that's £3 million in the bank of Celtic Football Club. So yeah, I agree, absolutely. Considering we're getting 60 million, I'd say pay the 12 for Bernardo and Ida. Yep, Tim, 100%. That's my opinion on things. I do agree with that. I think that it's smart business. It should be done. And I would love to see it done. So I 100% agree. We also already fleeced them for Jota. Could still be annoyed at us. Yeah, see, they're going to want... They're not going to just bend over and say, hi, 2 million, there you go, Celtic. No way, no way. 4.5 million is a bargain for him. He's got bags of potential. Why risk getting someone else who might be a dud? That's on the... if it was 4.5 million, it'd be great. I agree with the sentiment of that, Jake. Even at £6.5 million. I think he's got guaranteed quality. I really want to see him come in. And I love him. And thank you to the Obots, the OBOTS, who has donated $4.99. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Saying, would I sign Josh Doig? I would sign Josh Doig. I just don't think we will or could sign Josh Doig. I think, has he just moved to Sassuolo in Italy? Is he still... Josh Doig. This is very off topic. It's kind of taking me down a rabbit hole here. Yeah, he's only just moved to Sassuolo, who are in Serie B. Wow. I like Josh Doig, and I probably would sign him, but I just don't think it will happen, sadly. But thank you for the donation. I think we missed the boat with Mr. Doig. A couple of more things on Bernardo, shall we? Before we move on to the next couple of stories. I think Bernardo would be worth it. He makes me think of O'Reilly in some ways. You can tell he has a passion to go for goals and creates good plays. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Paulo Bernardo ultimately will be a bench player. Would you pay $6.5 million for a bench player? The thing is with Paulo Bernardo, I don't think he's the typical bench player. I don't think he's a bench player who's going to just sit there constantly, 90 minutes every game. He'll get starts, especially with Matt O'Reilly leaving the club. It opens up a massive opportunity, an opportunity which I don't know if anybody's going to necessarily grab straight away, whether it's a new signing or not. There's going to be a massive opportunity. He's young. He's clearly got talent. Paulo Bernardo signing for Celtic doesn't mean he's a bench player for the rest of his Celtic career. He might be a squad player for the next season or two, trying to find his way in there. But I think he's somebody who's going to be a first-team player in months to come. I genuinely believe that. I think he should... Listen, it's been a long time since we played in the Champions League. And this is my last point that I'll bring up on Paulo Bernardo for now. Paulo Bernardo, take yourselves back to the Champions League in the group stages. He was constantly one of our best performers in that group. We weren't great. There wasn't many great performers. Wasn't many good performers, but he was constantly solid for us in a time where we were missing Rio Hatate through injury, and a time we were relying heavily on Matt O'Reilly to be the creative flair. If you look at his statistics, Paulo Bernardo was statistically one of the best midfielders in our team in the Champions League group stage. And I'm not a statistics man. Take the statistics aside. You could see that with the naked eye. You could see that he was clearly good enough for that stage of football. for Champions League group stages. He's been brought up through a very good and very talented youth academy with Benfica in Portugal. So I like him. I want to see him sign permanently. And we'll see how that goes. He's not the only centre midfielder who has been brought up today. If I go back for a moment, and I just want to talk about this one very quickly because I don't believe there's a lot in it. So I know people will ask, but a report came out earlier today. It's been reported on by a lot of outlets now. A report came out earlier today around an Alvin Sanchez who has been linked with the club. The Record reported that Celtic are among a number of clubs interested in signing Lausanne sport midfielder Alvin Sanchez, who plays currently in the Swiss top flight. The Daily Express claim that Brendan Rodgers is very keen on him, valued at £4.3 million. So he's been apparently linked with the club. I don't see much in this. I don't think there's much to. I'll bring up his stats on Transfermarkt for a moment as well, just for reference. His name was thrown out there. I've never heard of him before today. He's struggled a lot with injury recently. He's also not been consistently played in the same role and positions. I don't think this is one that Celtic are genuinely in for. I think this is one that you could probably throw in the bin. I don't see much actually being done here. I think this is one of these names that crop up every year. You get 2 or 3 players whose names are thrown out there because they are linked with a number of clubs, and somehow Celtic find themselves in there. I don't doubt for a second that Celtic maybe have scouted the player. I think that's probably happened at some point. But I genuinely don't think there's much in this one, so I wouldn't read too much into it at this point. But he is a name that has been thrown out there today, Alvin Sanchez of Lausanne Sport in the Swiss Super League. 25 appearances this season, 5 goals. If I go back to his stats for a moment, you'll see that he's kind of up and down the middle of the park. He's played at centre forward, attacking midfield, central midfield. He's also capable of playing out in the right, but I wouldn't read too much into that one at all, but his name has been thrown out there. The last one, before we get into the Q&A session that we have to talk about today, because this one has become a topic of big discussion because of a certain nationality involved with the player. Celtic have been linked with yet another goalkeeper, ladies. Oh my God, my arse is sweating. So Celtic have been linked with, once again, yet another goalkeeper, this one coming in the form of Bayern Munich goalkeeper Daniel Peretz, who is, of course, not Bayern's number 1 by any stretch. There's a couple of keepers ahead of him. A few clubs interested, Celtic being linked as one of those clubs. Now, before we get into the controversial talking point of the player, let's have a look at what the article linking him with Celtic said. So this came from usually quite reliable German outlet Bild, one of the biggest news outlets in the fatherland, as they call it, Germany, one of the biggest ones. The Bayern professional is to be loaned out. What professional is that? Well, it is Patrick Peretz. According to Bild, the Israel goalkeeper Daniel Peretz, contracted until 2028 and currently 23 years of age, is expected to gain some playing time and be loaned out this summer. So apparently getting loaned out. He's not ahead of Manuel Neuer or Sven Ulreich in Bayern Munich's team at the moment. Apparently right now getting looked at by Union Berlin, Anderlecht, Copenhagen, Nottingham Forest, Celtic, Sevilla and Villarreal. Apparently all these teams have made contact with the potential signing of Mr. Peretz. Now, let's, controversial. Let's try and take a deep breath before we get into talking about them too deeply. There's a lot of articles going about these clubs looking at them. Apparently Nottingham Forest have made deep contact with the player and they look like they could sign him. I am willing to go out on a limb right now and virtually guarantee that this is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Mr. Peretz, Daniel Peretz, nothing against the guy himself. It's not as if he can help what country he is from. But due to that reason, there is no way he is going to be Celtic's new number 1 goalkeeper next season. I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. I've seen some chat happening. Look, you might have an opinion, you might have a strong opinion of the current conflict happening over in the Middle East right now. You might not give a toss. I think you should have an opinion. I think you should care because it's a deep cause. The Palestinian people be absolutely obliterated. And for that reason, I don't want to shed too much light on Israel here for a moment. My own personal opinion. Mr. Peretz is not going to be coming to Celtic. The absolute disaster that happened with both Nir Bitton and Leah Labada over the past 12 months, with Nir Bitton attacking the Celtic fans on social media and Leah Labada being forced to leave the club, as the papers would claim. I don't think he was forced to leave the clubs. I think the fans were really kind of welcoming to Leah Labada. We've seen it when he came back on the park. The Celtic fans loved it. The media would say he was forced out the club. After the PR nightmare that caused for Celtic, and due to the stance of the majority of Celtic fans, and the rightful stance of the majority of Celtic fans, I don't think Celtic are going to sign an Israeli player for a very long time. And that is just the truth. It might not appeal to you, this whole thing. It might not bother you, and you might think it's nonsense. That's your opinion. That's cool. I'm not going to I'm not going to make this into a political statement of a video. Everybody knows where I stand on it. I'm a very political person. I have my beliefs and my thoughts. I stand by them, and that's that. Celtic are not going to want to lie into that PR nightmare once more with another Israeli player. Also, just being quite honest and quite blunt about things, I don't think any Israeli players will want to play for Celtic anytime soon after looking what happened with Lier Abada. You've got to remember, Lier Abada was subject to threats from people of his own country. He was subject to his national team manager urging him to leave the club. He was subject to his national teammates, his international teammates, urging him to leave the club. Lier Abada was urged by many Israeli footballers and football fans to leave Celtic. Do you think for one moment any Israeli football player, whether they're a goalkeeper, striker, whatever, are going to want to come to Celtic anytime soon? Absolutely not. So this is one that I think that you can tear up straight away. You can put it in the bin because it's not going to happen. It's as simple as that. I think Celtic as a club will want to look out and miss any of this absolute disaster that it could be. And I think that the man himself will be pretty aware. You know, I'm pretty sure, even if he's not one that is in the loop with Celtic Football Club and their political standpoints, I'm pretty sure he'll have many people, including his very own agent, who are telling him, by the way, Celtic are a very pro-Palestinian fan base. You might not want to go there. Also, I'm not overly fussed about having him. Why would I want a Bayern Munich keeper that's barely playing football? Why would I want Bayern Munich's third choice keeper? It's not bloody Manuel Neuer we're getting like that. Why would I want their third choice keeper? Nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Celtic have been thrown in, once again, in there with clubs who are on a similar level, the likes of a Copenhagen. I think it's just, once again, maybe agents trying to drum up interest, but I wouldn't bother thinking about it whatsoever. Yeah, so Peretz will not be Celtic's goalkeeper next year. So I didn't want Norwich's third choice. Right, yeah, it's a bit different. We're talking about a goalkeeper. You know, a goalkeeper sitting there, he's not like he's getting, at least Ida was getting minutes. And I didn't want, look, I'm not going to back down from the point. I didn't want Norwich's third choice striker at the time. I'm glad we did. But listen, I just think it's something that we should try and we should try and avoid completely. Listen, just put all of this on the table and be honest with yourself. Can you be bothered? Can you? No. And plus, free Palestine. So I don't mean to break your heart, Gillen. But no, I really want this to. But it looks as though he's away to Saudi Arabia, and we cannot compete with the wages that the Saudi Arabians give out, can we? So yeah, so that's all the news stories that are in the news today. And a very good point as well here. Lightning doesn't always strike twice. Just because Ida was a success doesn't mean he will. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that sentiment. Great way to put it. And I also add to that point that just because it worked with Ida, does that now become our recruitment strategy? It never should have been and never should be our recruitment strategy. Our recruitment strategy shouldn't be to sign third choice players in every position. No, it worked with Ida. I'm glad that it worked with Ida. But it doesn't mean that we start doing that with every single player. And it certainly doesn't become a point to try and one up. You know, absolutely not. So aye, let's get into tell us who to vote in the election, Ryan. God, that's not my place to tell you. I know who I'm voting. But you can vote, you can make your own decision. Just don't vote Conservative and we're all good. So, yeah, let's get into the Q&A. We'll start with Murray DM McDonald, who says, I've seen a few bits and pieces on Edouard possibly coming back. Don't see it happening, but imagine getting to see the Kyogo and Eddie partnership again. Of course, the Kyogo and Eddie partnership that we very, very briefly saw at the start of Kyogo's Celtic career and the end of Edouard's Celtic career. Yeah, I've seen his name pop up a few times. over the course of the day. He will be apparently leaving Crystal Palace this summer. I think that there's been talk of an £8 million fee being what Crystal Palace expect for Odsonne Edouard. I will make it very clear right now, I would kill to have Edouard back here, and I think you would be stupid to pass up on the opportunity because he's clearly a very talented player. I don't think it's went the way he wanted it to at Crystal Palace, but what I will also add to that is I don't think he'll be back at Celtic. I don't think there's any realistic opportunity of him coming back to Celtic. I'm keeping myself grounded when it comes to that, but I would welcome it with open arms. If there's a chance or a possibility to even have the conversation, then absolutely have the conversation. You know, get the feelers out, see if Edouard's interested, see if Palace are interested. But I think it's just one that's getting thrown about because it's an easy article to write. Trust me, it's an easy article to write. If I was working for a traditional mainstream journalistic outlet, I would be putting that 2 and 2 together if Edouard was available this summer. Because why? Because it guarantees clicks. You've got to think like a journalist sometimes. I don't see it happening. Who would still take the Trabzonspor goalkeeper this summer since we are linked with so many keepers? Absolutely, still would take him. Uragan Sakir, of course, of Trabzonspor, that Celtic were linked with a £7.5 million move for. I think he's one of the top options when it comes to goalkeepers. Do I see it happening? I would say 30% of me could see it happening. If I was to put a number on it, I don't think it's one that we're able to see. Let's see. We cannot afford Edouard's wage. My God, the numbers don't work at all. I don't think he's on that high. Let's see what Google thinks he's on. I don't think he's on that high a wage, to be honest. He's at Crystal Palace, not Chelsea. Odsonne Edouard's salary, reportedly, oh wow, maybe he is. £90,000 a week is what's being reported. Maybe you're onto something, Jason. He will have to realistically take a wage cut wherever his next step is. But I did not expect to see £90,000. That's a big wage that he's on at Crystal Palace. As I said, don't see him coming back to Celtic anytime soon. Ewan says, Ryan, this is the biggest transfer window in decades if the board back Rodgers. Next season we could absolutely bury Rangers and the bald clown Clement. Absolutely. We spoke about this on the podcast the other day, of how this is the opportunity to bury Rangers and absolutely kill them off. But do the board want that? I don't think so. I think the illusion of competition is one of the things that drives Scottish football, and I think they both like that. But I do agree, absolutely. Love the kit video, Ryan, though the one you're wearing should definitely go to the top. Any word or concepts for the away or third? So apparently the away kit, Dean, don't take everything with a pinch of salt. I'm not an insider. Apparently the away shirt this season is supposed to be yellow, from my understanding. Apparently we're getting a yellow away shirt. Third shirt, no idea. I would love a Bumblebee myself. I'm dying for another Bumblebee kit. The third shirt, many Adidas clubs in their third shirts are getting the old-fashioned trefoil rather than the Adidas Performance logo. So it could be a trefoil third shirt, but no word on the colour or whatever. But apparently it's going to be yellow, the away shirt. So keep that in mind. We might get an announcement or a teaser of the shirt soon, or even a leak, because leaks love to come out. Might end up going for Scott Carson at this rate. He's just signed a new contract with City. That one's out the window, Paul. That one's out the window. But no luck. We probably fucking would. I never got this. How was his attitude? Shit. His attitude was brilliant. He had a brilliant attitude. This was like the body language police. He doesn't look interested. Great player. Great attitude. Scored goals. I'd bring him back in a heartbeat. I like wacky kits for third top. Same, me too. The wackier the better, you know. As long as no like the last couple though. The last couple have been pretty lackluster when they try to be a little bit more wacky. Oh my, McGinley's over in Turkey as we speak, donating his hair follicles to the transplant sector. God, I never knew that. Best of luck, McGinley. Let's see what else. All jokes aside, I would take Ortega at City, but not sure if City would sell or not. I feel like he's played enough football for them wanting. He'd probably stick around there, wouldn't he? I've not watched him too much. I know he played in obviously FA Cup final and United won. So, should we loan out more players to Scottish clubs? Absolutely. I think we should. I think getting to know the league and getting to play in the league is an important factor of coming to Celtic. And as you've brought up, the benefits that it had for players like Ayer and Scales is massive. And there's more examples than just Ayer and Scales as well. So yeah, absolutely, I would loan him out to loan the likes of Holm out to Scottish clubs. However, Owen Yang, I would just sell. I'd get rid of them quite personally. any other questions before? Well, we're approaching the half-hour mark, so I'm going to be wrapping up in a couple of moments' time. But if there's any good questions to finish up the stream on, then absolutely. Do I want KT? Plus, do you think he'll come home? No. Simple as that. No, I don't think he will. Once again, I hate breaking people's hearts, but you've got to have a fathom of a realm of realistic thinking, you know? No, I don't. I think people have got to kind of get over it, because it's not going to happen. Well, I was supporting Farage again. I don't think I supported Farage the first time, to be honest. But no, I see that he's leading up the Reform UK party though, so that's fucking great. What's my thoughts on Shankland? Overrated player, shite, and wouldn't have him anywhere near Celtic, put it that way. No, he's not shite, that's fucking harsh, but I think he's overrated. McCarthy redemption arc, absolutely. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there before I melt into a fucking puddle. Thank you for tuning in. Now, keep in mind that throughout the summer there will be a lot of these live streams. So if you enjoy them, then you know when to check them out. They'll always be listed on the channel ahead of time when they're going live on the air. Thank you to Voice Tech, Ian, and the OBOTS, the OBOTS, for the donations tonight as well. I really appreciate you all tuning in as well, for your support, just liking and subscribing and watching the videos. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. I'll be back tomorrow on the channel with a video. I see somebody bringing up FM. Thinking about it. Depends. I don't want to say yes or no. Depends, because I have been thinking about it. I will get a quiz live stream done as well, because I was asked to do that with a hefty donation in the last stream. So trust me, summer's only beginning. Give me time. Give me time. Right, enjoy your evening, ladies and gents. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you all next time. Ta-da.